Having said that, my main reason for doing this is that there's no evidence that mayoral takeovers work. It's been tried, as other people have mentioned, in other cities. There's no evidence that it does what we've been trying to do through various sorts of reforms for many years. I've been in the district over 30 years, and we've seen lots of different reforms come through, but the ones that really matter are the ones that actually directly affect children. And issues of governance are not those. What they do is they create a lot of tension, they create a lot of activity, and they tend to bog a lot of people down for making the kinds of small, sometimes large changes that need to be done, including smaller classes, parent involvement, better instruction through better training of teachers, and more community involvement. Now, I would have to say that this issue, though, kind of raises a nice opportunity. And the opportunity is maybe we can begin having the city and the school board work together in strategic fashion. And certainly there have to be models in which mayors and schools create strategic plans in which schools help build strong neighborhoods and cities bring support for public education in very concrete ways. One thing along that way, and I'm also on the MICAH Education Committee, and I'm really in some ways coming here as a representative of MICAH, who's begun to look at the issue of community schools. And it is an issue that there is funding for at the national level, and it is something I think the board should take a serious look at in order to deepen community involvement in schools that really make sense. And now with the city working at doing some neighborhood development with some of the Zilber money, there'd be some nice ways, I think, of bringing the school strategic planning and for community involvement through community schools along with some of the neighborhood development that's going on. Okay, thank you very much.
I'm a 1965 graduate of MPS. I'm the mom of 4 children. The oldest graduated MPS in 1985. The youngest graduated 2000. The reason why I say that is to say this. I observed or lived the change in MPS. And I distinctly have come to one conclusion. The foundation or the beginning of the demise. Yes, the economy had something to do with it, but reading had even more to do with it. The difference between the reading capability of my daughter that graduated in 1985, the one in 89, and the one in the year 2000 is drastic. The reason why was because MPS, the powers that be, none of you were on the school board back then. A lot of my friends were that went to school with me back in the 60s. But it was the reading. MPS switched to whole language. If something doesn't work, like they always say, if it's broke, don't fix it. Well, if it's broken, it's time to fix it. And just the mere fact of adding dollars, more dollars, changing governance. I'm totally against the mayoral takeover, but this is not my first step out of the box. Working inside the school system, working inside this building, getting known by my students or my children's teachers, principals. I was at Samuel Morse for half a day today. That's because I have a 12-year-old granddaughter there, and I'm recently retired. And so I have observed this. So if you do nothing else, address the way that reading is taught. A child cannot be taught incorrectly to spell a word, and then by osmosis, as a 10th or 11th grader, start to spell 4, 5, 6 syllable words correctly. It's just impossible. You have to look at that. You, the board, have those statistics. I'm just one parent telling you what I lived. But you have the statistics to look at that and find that there may be something to what I'm saying, is that you can spend all the money you want. This is free. to assess that and then to try to do something about it. Our children are experiencing hard times, yes they are, but they're still capable of learning. And they want to learn, and they want to please. They don't want to be unsuccessful students. They don't want to drop out of school, and it should not happen to them. So again, I am totally against the takeover. I'm an active participant with the coalition. I stand behind you all 100%.
Vice President Blewett.
Thank you. I think that's Schneider. Also,
Stephanie Snyder, 2549 South Street.
yes, and also, Mr. President, our former colleague Jennifer Morales and Tina Owen were here to speak against the takeover, but had to leave in an emergency. So I promised them that I would get their names into the record.
Once again, before this meeting adjourned, I'd just like to thank everyone for coming out and voicing their opinion on this very important issue. Thank you. So at this time, we're going to proceed to our next meeting.